We got how many participants now?
Now we have 83 in this room. 84, yeah.
Okay. It's already 9 o'clock. Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, very good morning and welcome to the webinar today. I'm Dr. Ko, your moderator for today. And today webinar is about BCR ABL1 quantitation using Genexpert. It is organized by a collaboration between the Chapter of Hematology, SPD, and Hospital Tunku Aziza. And this webinar will take around 3.5 hours. Okay, from the lab perspective, management of a patient with CML requires accurate diagnosis, assessment of prognostic markers, and sequential assessment of level of residual disease. So, quantitative BCR ABL monitoring is mandatory, and so far it's the only technique that can quantify the disease level. Hence, today's objective of today's webinar is to share the knowledge and experience in regards to this test. Okay. First, I would like to introduce our first.
Okay, so good morning again. Thank you everyone for your time attending this webinar today. So if you guys have any questions, you can write it down in the chat. Probably I'll look it up later on. I'll answer your questions later on. Okay, so I'm the regional tech lead in life science. I'm handling most of the Cepheid tests in Malaysia as well. So today I'm going to present about our Genexpert system. What is technology for Genexpert system that is used in CML monitoring? Okay, so we are the distributor for Cepheid. SPD Scientific is the distributor for Cepheid. So if you guys have any questions, you can write to me using that emails, sean.lee@spdscientific.com. All right. Okay, let's start our sessions today. Let me check whether everything's okay. So can you see my transition of the slides? Is that okay?
Yes, we can see, Sean.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay, so in the lab, normally the conventional labs, if you want to do PCR, you need to have a lot of equipment in the labs. So because of that, most of the lab personnel, they don't want to do PCR tests, and usually they send it to a centralized lab. But when you send your samples to a centralized lab, it may take very long period of time. As you know, they need to batch the samples before they run PCR tests. You probably get your results in maybe more than 1 month. And of course, not that long. I mean, more than 1 week for sure. Okay. So this hinders a lot of, this becomes an obstacle to do PCR tests. but because there is a revolution of rapid diagnostic lab technology, so you have a Genexpert system in your hospital. It is considered a POCT device. All you need to do, you just get the test, you just put into the machine, and you get the result within 2 to 3 hours time. That is how fast you can get the results. That's what we call rapid diagnostic test. Okay, so Cepheid have come up with the systems. So they have developed all these platforms to be placed in each different hospitals. So it depends. So the capacity depends on the hospital size. So they have right now, most of the hospitals in Malaysia, they have GX4 system. Okay, and there is one machine, big machines in our MKJB. Okay, they have GX16 over there. So right now we don't have a big system in Malaysia yet at the moment. Okay, so you just need all these systems to run a PCR test. So what do you have in this package? So when you receive a Genexpert system, you will receive one Genexpert system. You receive a laptop or computer or desktop computer. It comes with a UPS and a barcode scanner. That's all you need to run a PCR test. Okay, so the reagent will be in a cartridge format. One cartridge is for one test, and it's a single test. And once you use it, you cannot reuse. The assay protocol is given to you, so you don't have to crack your heads to analyze the results. Everything is done for you from samples to result. Okay, so it's so convenient. So the Genexpert system, it has a very, very easy workflow. Everyone can do it. So all you need to do, you just prepare the samples, you add it in the cartridge, and you load the cartridge in the system. That's it. Okay, then the system itself is an RT-PCR machine. You purify the nucleic acids, amplify, mix it with the PCR reagent, do the amplifications and detections. Then last, it will interpret the result for you, and you just get the result and report to the clinicians. That's how easy it is. So I'll introduce a little bit on these Genexpert technologies. Okay, so conventionally, doing PCR tests, you need to do extractions, you need to do a PCR amplification, you have to set up the thermocyclers, analyze the PCR curve, and so on. So Cepheid integrated the whole process in a closed system. So there is no direct contact between the instrument and sample. This is to eliminate carryover from one specimen to the other specimen. So the sample is enclosed in a cartridge. Okay, so you don't have to worry about cross-contamination issue. Fluid transfer. Cepheid use microfluidic-based reconstitutions and automated filling. So they focus on advanced microfluidic technology so that the process can be done as quick as possible. So even though the sample preparation is complex and is tedious, but because of using microfluidic technologies, everything can be done in a short period of time. Okay, so the motors from the Genexpert system, they are software driven, so they are controlled by software to control the valve movements and integral hydraulic drive. Okay, so when you run PCR tests, you need to have controls. Without controls, the result that you get is not valid. So this is the reason why Cepheid has integrated multiple controls in each cartridge to validate every step. So that the result that you get, for example, the negative result that you get is a true negative result. Okay, so it is very important to have controls in the cartridge. Okay, the protocol is given to you. The data reductions and result interpretation will be done for you. So you don't have to do the calculation by yourself. Okay, so this is how a Genexpert cartridge looks like. So it's a self-contained cartridge. There is a there is a big hole over here. That is where you load the samples into the cartridge. So this is called processing chamber. It contains all the reagents in there, all the PCR primers, controls, positive controls are sitting in each chamber. All right. Valve body, this thing will be controlled by the machine to rotate the chamber so that the sample can be mixed with lysis buffer, can be mixed with the amplification, the extractions, solutions, and so on. So this will be controlled by the computer, by the software. Okay, so if you do PCR tests, you need a place for PCR amplification. So at the back of the cartridge, there will be one slot, one plastic piece of thing. This is called PCR reaction tube. So this is where the rapid thermocyclings happen, and this is where the optical excitation and detections happen. So it is very important when you handle this cartridge, do not hold the PCR reaction tube. If this side is dirty, it will affect the result. Okay. So this is Genexpert system. This is what we call GX4. Okay. And in GX4 means a Genexpert having 4 modules. So this is what we call module. One module can run one test. If you have 4 modules over there, then you can run 4 tests at the same time. So this is like one RT-PCR machine. Okay. So it has 2 motor, plunger motor, and valve drive motor. It has a board. It has the brain. That's the motherboard. One I-core. It has the thermocycler and the detector. And this is where the user loads the cartridge, like for the cartridge in the cartridge inserter. Okay, so this is how simple the machine is. Okay, so all the tests that can be run in Genexpert system, they are all PCR-based assay. So you can run any type of test. You can run BCR ABL. You can run a HIV, HCV, HPV. You can run even COVID tests in the Genexpert system. So they look exactly the same. The cartridge format looks exactly the same, except the reagents inside and the protocol used to run the tests are different. Okay, even the maintenance is quite easy. The user just need to clean the machine. Just daily do some cleaning on the workstation to prevent any infections to the lab staff. Okay, at the end of the day, just throw out the used cartridge. That's it. Weekly wise, you just need to turn off the computer and Genexpert system once a week. Monthly, you have to do some thorough cleaning. Okay, in the cartridge bay, the plunger rods. This is to maintain the instrument so that it can last longer. Yearly maintenance, our engineer will come and do some check on the performance of the module to see whether they are up to performance. Okay. Okay, polymerase chain reactions. In layman's term, this is just the Genexpert machine is just like a photocopying machine. You put in DNA or RNA into the photocopying machine, then you got multi copies of the DNA RNA for detection purpose. Okay, so that's the purpose of PCR. Okay, and PCR, there is an evolution in PCR. This is how the conventionals. This is the conventional way. You need to do sampling. You need to do some treatments on the sample. You need to extract the DNA RNA. Then once you get the DNA RNA, you have to do the thermocycling process. Then you analyze the PCR process. So the conventional way, it may take up to 5 hours. Okay, so that is the con because it's more manual. And if you find any contaminations over here, then you have to start everything again. Okay, so I believe the staff they want the works to be done as easy as possible. All right. So because of the evolutions in technology, Genexpert, they have the test. All you need to do, you just get patient sample, just process a little bit on the sample, then you load it into the cartridge, and then you just wait for the results. That's all you need. Okay, you can get the result as soon as 30 minutes. Okay, and for BCR ABLs, it might take about 2 hours time. All right. Okay, so a little bit introductions of this CML and BCR ABL. So I believe the other speakers will talk more about CML and BCR ABL. All right. So CML, chronic myelogenous leukemia, is one of the most common hematologic malignancies and account for 15 to 20% of all cases of leukemia. And they noticed that more than 95% of the patient with CML, they have distinctive Philadelphia chromosome, okay, that result from a reciprocal translocations between the long arms of the chromosome 9 and the 22. So this is because the translocations involve the transfer of the abelsons or ABL1 gene on chromosome 9 to the breakpoint cluster region of the chromosome 22. So because of this translocation, it forms a fused BCR gene, BCR ABL gene. All right, and because this gene it produces BCR ABL, this is a tyrosine kinase with deregulated activity that plays a key role in the development of CML. Because of this, the leukemia, the white blood cells can keep growing. All right. So tyrosine kinase. This is why you need a tyrosine kinase inhibitor to stop this. So this is the simple picture. So chromosome 9 and chromosome 22, there is a translocations of these ABL1s from chromosome 9 to chromosome 22, and it forms a BCR ABL. So that's how it forms. Okay. Okay. So today I'm going to focus on the Genexpert Expert BCR ABL Ultra, this test. So this test has been introduced to several sites in Malaysia. Okay, so several hospital has been using this as a test for treatment monitoring. Okay, so this is Expert BCR ABL Ultra is a quantitative detection. So basically, it can give you value. Okay, so we'll look at the chromosomal translocation mRNA transcript for the P210 form and ABL1. Okay, in this cartridge itself, it has two control, probe check control, and ABL endogenous control. You can get the results in 2.5 hours, and this includes sample preparation time. So the sample preparation times, it takes about half an hour. All right. Even though the result, you can get the result in 2.5 hours, but do note that probably the lab have some other tests to do, so you might not get the result as soon as 3 hours lah. So sometimes if there is a need to repeat, just in case if there is a need for repeat, then it might take up to half a day. All right. So this is a closed cartridge system. So once the cartridge is closed, basically it minimizes the risk of contaminations, and it also minimizes the risk of infections to the lab staff. All right. So the Genexpert system can give you on-demand results. So when you got the samples, the lab staff can run the samples on that day, provided there is a free slot on the Genexpert system. All right. So beside running BCR ABLs in Genexpert system, you can even run other type of tests in Genexpert system at the same time. For example, if you receive BCR ABL, they run it on the first module, and you want to run HIV test on the second module, no issue at all. Okay, so it's very, very random. Okay, so when you do PCR test, you need to understand, you have to know the intended use. Okay, so this test is an in vitro diagnostic test for the quantitations of BCR ABL1 and ABL1 mRNA transcripts in peripheral blood specimen of diagnosed translocations of chromosome 9 and 22 positive chronic myeloid leukemia, CML. So this is the intended use. All right. You cannot use this to diagnose the CML. Okay. It's very important, not intended for the diagnosis of CML. And this test is to measure the BCR ABL1 to ABL1% ratio on the international scale, IS value. And also you receive log molecular reductions, MR value, from a baseline of 100% IS during monitoring of treatment with tyrosine kinase inhibitor. So that means first you got a baseline of the patients. After treatment with TKI, then you, after probably 6 months time, okay, for example, 6 months time, you want to monitor again, then you use this test. This test is meant for the treatment monitoring. All right, so do not use it for diagnosis. So in the cartridge, it has 2 targets, BCR ABL1 and also ABL1 transcript, which act as an endogenous control. Okay, so we'll be looking at this BCR ABL1 fusion gene. They are resulted from these 2 major breakpoints, translocations E13A2, B2A2, and E14A2, B3A2. And because of this, and it only express P210s only. Okay, so this test cannot detect P190 and P230. It cannot detect these 2. Only P210s. It's meant for P210s, all right? Okay, specimen collections. So specimen collections, you need to get whole blood specimen collected in EDTA tube. All right. Sample should be stored at 4 degrees Celsius for no longer than 3 days. So this is if you get the whole blood specimens, if you don't have time to run it, keep it in fridge 2 to 8 degrees Celsius before testing. Remember, do not freeze the blood samples. Okay. Okay, I understand that you might have questions regarding the transports of whole bloods from one hospital to the other hospital. Okay, so there is no a fixed guideline for this. So for us, we will recommend, if you want to ship one whole blood cell to the other hospital, it's best to keep the blood samples in ice pack with ice packs. Okay, so it will help to maintain the integrities of the DNAs in the whole in the samples. Of course, it's not necessary. Okay, because it maintain the DNA. DNA is quite stable at room temp, but we do not know what happens during the logistic side. Maybe the temperature during the logistics can reach more than 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we try to minimize the impacts to the DNA integrity. So it's best to put some ice packs to keep the blood samples. Okay. All right. So make sure that the plasma from the cells do not separate. This is quite important. Okay. So when you want to start testing, you bring the specimen to room temp for 20 minutes at least. Okay, before starting the test. It's quite important. And the minimum sample volume is 4 ml. All right, so it's quite important for this. So kit handling. So you will receive 1 box of Expert BCR ABL Ultra test. So 1 box, it contains 10 tests. It contains 1 CD. It has all these reagents, proteinase K, lysis buffer, the lysis reagent, and wash reagents. So all these are required to run a test. Okay, and the storage of this kit is quite important. You have to keep in 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Okay, remember, you cannot keep this at room temp. It's because the proteinase K is quite important. It is an enzyme, and if you keep at room temp, it will degrade. Okay. So the storage of this 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, before you start any procedure, you equilibrate the blood samples and the sample reagents from the sample reagents to at least 20 minutes at room temp before you start the procedure. So just bring them out from the fridge. Okay, it is very important. Okay, if you don't have any sample, do not try to open the cartridge leads, because once you open the cartridge leads, then you probably have to run the test within 30 minutes. Okay, so how do you prepare the cartridge? Okay, so it's quite simple. First thing, that's all you need to do. You get a sample, blood samples. You add in the proteinase K, you add in the lysis reagents, and then you do some incubations over there. And then this is you will get something called lysate. Okay, you use the lysate, you put in lysis buffer again, and then in last you put in denatured alcohol, the absolute alcohols to precipitate the DNA. Okay, then you load the whole thing into the cartridge. So this is the simple versions of procedure. All right. Okay, so once they put into the cartridge, they have to put in wash reagent as well. Okay, so this is how it works. So this is the cartridge leads. When you open the cartridge lead, you will see two holes. First is the wash reagents hole. This is where you put in the wash reagent, and this is where you put in the sample. So try to start the test within 30 minutes. All right. Okay, so just now you have prepared lysates. So you don't use up all the lysates. So you might have remaining lysates. You can keep the lysate at 4 degrees Celsius up to 4 hours. But you might, so you have to keep it in fridge for at 4 degrees Celsius. But if you really don't have time, if you want to keep it for future use, you keep at -20 or lower, and you can store up to 24 weeks. So it's about 6 months, just in case you need to do a retest. All right. So let's go through a little bit on the results interpretations. So this is the result that you get from this Genexpert system. Okay, you will get the amount of BCR able transcript. You'll be reported in the ratio of BCR able over able in IS value, and also a log molecular reductions, MR value. All right. So previously, without this system, hematologists, when they want to do the IS and the MR value, they need to calculate manually. I know it's a headache for that. Okay, because you need to use a lot of data. For example, the scaling factor or PCR efficiency and all these things. To do that is a headache also. Okay, so to solve this issue, Cefiso have done the calculation. I put everything in software. It makes it easy for the user. So they have these calculations, the percent IS using the efficiency values. Okay, times 100% times the scaling factor. So this is how you calculate the percent IS and the molecular reductions. The molecular response. All right. So I know you want to do this, so you can leave it to the machine to do that. Okay, but sometimes when you get a value that is below the level of the limit of quantitations, if you want to know the exact value, you might need to do the manual calculations by yourself. Okay. Okay. For example, I'll explain it in the next slides. All right. So why hematologists need to look at this? So every clinicians, they want to see, is hoping that the TKI therapy can help the patient. If they can see MR molecular response of 3, so the patients have higher survival rates. All right. So this is the molecular response that every clinician wish to see. All right. So by using this Cepheid Extra Expert BCR ABL Ultra, you are able to see the molecular response value in a short period of time. I mean, just by this is quite easy for you. All right. Okay. So this is the sample results. If the result is positive, you will get a positive result and the IS value and the MR value. So if you want to do manual calculation yourself, you can just get the loss specific, a scaling factor from the COA. The COA is inside the box. So you just need to get the values over there. Then you do the calculations by yourself. Then that is how you get the IS and MR value using the formula. Okay. Okay, in some cases, you might get this positive above upper limit of quantitation. It means that the value is beyond the limit of the limit of quantitation. It cannot give you the result accurately. But if you wish to know, you can do the manual calculation by yourself. So this positive result above upper limit of quantitations, it has a value less than MR 0.26 and more than 55% IS value. So by how much? So you can do the simple, the manual calculations. For this case, you got the efficiency values and the scaling factor from the COA. Then you can get 65% IS value and MR 0.19 in this case. So this you have to do manually. And another case would be this positive below limit of detections. It gives you more than MR 4.52 but less than 0.003% IS. So why is the exact value? So you have to do it yourself, calculate manually. In this case, you get 0.0025% IS value and MR value 4.6. Okay, so the reason why it can, because this value, the confidence intervals for this is 95% up to 0.003%. That's why they set this as a limit of quantitations. So any value below this, the machine cannot accurately give you the results. That is the reason. Okay. If you got negative results, it means you have a control saying that sufficient ABL transcripts and BCR able got a CT value 0. That's it. All right. Of course, not all the tests are perfect. So there are some. So you might face some issue during the test. Okay, but to eliminate this, so you have to understand that you need to use EDTA whole blood specimen. If you use other type of blood, if you use blood specimen collected in other type of tube, it may affect the result. Okay, you need to get at least minimum volume 4 ml. Storage time should not exceed 72 hours at 4 degrees Celsius. This is for the whole blood sample. Okay, so make sure that you fulfill this requirement once you collect the samples. Okay. Okay, sometimes the blood samples will have elevated on or decreased level of white blood cells. It may give you invalid result as well. Okay, but we do have solution for that, which I'll explain later on. In proper testing procedures, if you are not doing the step correctly, you might get the result that you get might not be valid. So this is the thing. So do standardize this procedure all the time. Do not simply change or modify the procedure, okay? Because it may alter the performance of the test. So there are potential interfering substance in the presence in the bloods that may affect the test. But fortunately, Cepheid, they have done a test. They noticed that unconjugated bilirubin, cholesterol, triglyceride, heparin, EDT, short draw, all these do not inhibit the PCR reaction. So this is the good thing. All right. If you want to know more about this, you just refer to the current package insert. Okay. So if you get invalid during the test, what happened? So there are few possible causes. Of course, we don't want this to happen, but you need to understand this. All right. So first thing, endogenous control ABL failure. Okay. This could be from the cartridge itself. Okay. Or you have too high white blood cells in the samples, more than 30 million cells per mil. Too low white blood cells, less than 150,000 cells per mil. And because of these two, you may get invalid results. Okay. Poor sample quality. There is a PCR emission by substance in the presence in the blood. It may give you invalid result. Or PCC failure. This is due to the cartridge. Okay. Do always check the specimen quality and the white blood cell counts in the samples. Okay. Just repeat the test with the original samples and a new cartridge if you get invalid results. Of course, no one wants to have invalids. So SPD have done our best to prevent this from happening. So we have a chart showing a dilution procedure. So this is to minimize the invalid rates. Okay, which I'll show it later. Okay, so there are other types of error that you might face using Expert BCR ABL Ultra. Okay, the common one will be error 2008 or 5006, 5007, 5008, 5009. So error 2008, it means pressure exceeding limit. So this is caused by sample. That means there are too high white blood cells in the samples, leading to a clog in the cartridge. Okay, when there is a clog in the cartridge, the pressure will definitely go up. Then you prompt this error immediately. Okay, so if you got this error, it could due to the cartridge itself. So do report to us if you face this issue. Okay, but once you report to us, we will usually request you to repeat again with another cartridge. Okay. If you face this issue, no result, this could be because of the machine issue. Suddenly the test has been stopped with a stop test button, or there is a communication issue between the Genexpert and the computer. All this power failure. So that leads to no results. Okay. So the retest procedure, you just discard the used cartridge. If you have enough blood specimen, retest again. Okay, if you have the lysates, then you use the lysates to repeat again. Okay, then you get a new cartridge and start again. Okay, so to prevent those errors, so we have developed this table. So this table is adapted from this paper. Okay. So this is not this table is not mentioned in the package inserts. So we adapt this from the Mahaffey publications. So you can look it up, these publications. Then we try to, because we want to help you all not to have a lot of invalids or is keep repeating the test because the test is not cheap. All right. Okay, so what you need to do. So first thing, when you want to start doing the test, identify the white blood cell count. If you have 30 million per mil of blood, you use this. You use the original protocol. All right. If, for example, if the white blood cell count is between 30 to 200 millions of cells in the bloods, you reduce the whole bloods to 50 microliters instead of using the 4 mil. And then you just follow the steps. Use the PK, proteinase K, the lysis reagents, and then you put in the ethanol and you run the test. If you have more than 200 millions of cells in the blood, you reduce the whole blood. So you only use 10 microliters. Okay, the rest maintain the same. All right. So this is the procedure that we have developed for you. Okay. So this is to minimize the invalids. All right. Okay. So there are some limitations about the test. So you might need to understand this. So the performance characteristic of this test has only been established with blood collected in EDTA tubes only. If you use other blood collected in other tubes, it may affect the result. Okay, the reliable results are dependent on the adequate specimen collections, transport, storage, and processing. So make sure you standardize all these steps. Okay, do not simply change the protocol. All right. Okay, next, the limitation. This test, it does not distinguish between P210 BCR ABL fusion transcript, E13A2 slash B2A2 and E14A2 slash B3A2. So it cannot differentiate which one is which. So this is one of the limitations. Okay. This test is not intended to detect the P190 and the P230. Even though there is a minor translocation that may be present in bloods from a patient with leukemia, this test cannot detect. Okay, very high or very low white blood cell count may be reported as invalid. So the very low white blood count, as low as less than 150,000 cells, you may get invalid. Okay, if there is a mutation of polymorphisms in primer or pro-binding regions, it may affect the detections of new or unknown variants and may result in a false negative result. Okay, so if there is a mutations in the sample, the targets, the PCR primers, they cannot bind to the mutation, then you get negative result. Just like the COVID test, the COVID. So if the virus has mutated, then it cannot bind to the PCR, the binding probes, then you get negative result, right? So do not use this with external calibrators. Okay, and the precision of the assay is not demonstrated or assured below MR 4.5. Okay, so the accuracy will be even lower below MR 4.5. All right, and this test you cannot use this to determine discontinuation from TKI treatment or monitoring after discontinuation. So I understand that clinicians, they want to see whether you can use it after you stop the patient TKI therapy. So this test is not meant for that at the moment. All right. The other one, CMLP23 transcript, we may report a BCR ABL1 positive result below the assay LOD when tested at high target levels. So it means if the CMLP230 is high, but you test it using BCR ABL1 Ultra, you may still get positive result. Okay, but the result could be 0.003% IS value or MR 4.52. Okay, so do notes about this thing. And sometimes some patient with very low level of BCR ABL transcript may be reported as negative because it's too low for detection. This is due to the precision of the assay, and then sometimes you may miss it. Okay, so and hence an undetected result does not preclude the presence of low level of leukemic cells in the patient. So this is quite important. Okay, so that's the end of my talk for today. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, do reach out to me. Okay, so this is my email address. So you can reach out to me or my another colleagues, Lifen. So do reach out to us, then we'll try to assist as much as possible. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sean. I will keep the question and Q&A session at the end of the webinar.
Sure.
So our next speaker is Puan Mahiran binti Mustafa. Puan Mahiran graduated